Today we're talking about the 5 weirdest INFJ traits that throw people off. Those traits on our list today are really things that we do all the time, and they seem completely normal to us. We know though, through experience, that they're considered weird. And so today we're not only going to look into what those 5 weirdest traits are, but how other people react to that. Is it something that we should stop doing? Is it something that we should do more of? And how we can use all of that knowledge to just improve our life and, just have fun with it and be happy and not feel like the weirdo all the time. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you haven't done this so far, to download the free poster on the INFJ Epic Life formula. And if you say, now is my time, I want to get started with my INFJ Epic Life journey today, then get the INFJ Epic Life audio guide. Everything you need to know you can find in the links in the description. Weird INFJ trait number 1. The INFJ is very direct in a subtle way. That is a huge problem for people because you can be extremely direct as an INFJ, but you're not going to do it in a way that is socially unacceptable. You're going to do it in a way where you're still playing by the rules, you're not really saying anything out loud, you're not being rude, but the other person understands that you've crossed a boundary. And this is something that we very often seem to not be aware of, or if we're aware of, we say, but it's completely, by the rules. We're not saying anything, we're not doing anything, that is unheard of. But the truth is, you recognize what other people's insecurities are. You can be very direct, as in, I go very deeply with this person. I become very personal, but I do it in a subtle way. And this trait makes you very intriguing to other people. Like, we know that. But on the other hand, it brings a lot of risk. Actually, the more intriguing it is, the higher the chances that you're going to get ghosted, that people are going to have a problem with you, that they feel insecure, and that although they might like you a lot, they just go their separate way because it's just too risky. So this is one of the things we have to recognize. We can be extremely direct. And just because it doesn't look like we're being direct, you know that you're being direct. You know that you're going a little bit too far. You know that you're doing things other people aren't doing. But let's be honest with ourselves. We very often do this because we think this is part of our charm. This is part of our gift. This is what makes us special, because we can do this in a very sleek way. We can do this in a very smart way. And so this in itself is like a trait we want to show off. But we have to recognize you're still crossing other boundaries, although you're doing it in a subtle way. Although you're doing it in a very artistic way and in a very beautiful and smart way, it's still not something that we should be doing all the time, just because it's not kind at all times. But what are we going to do? Like, isn't that something that is within us that we just want to bring out? Yes. Please bring this aspect out in your life. It just doesn't have to get out when you're like talking to one single person in one night. Bring it out in your entire life. As in, I will share this with absolutely everybody in my life. It will be represented in the way I live my life, in the choices I'm making, because we need that outlet. That's part of who we are. But it becomes unhealthy if we bottle it all up because we think this is not acceptable. And then we find one person where we lay it all out pretty much and, cross that boundary because we just need any kind of outlet. If you have a healthy outlet that you live out all the time, trust me, you're not going to get into those situations where this happens with individual people. I have done both. I've been the person who for years has gotten into those situations with certain people. And I've also been in a situation for probably the last, decade maybe, where this hasn't happened anymore because I have just learned to bring it out everywhere all the time. And that is actually what we need. You need to live that extraordinary life, which actually means you're being more authentically you all the time. Then you don't need to bring it out in certain situations that might cross boundaries. Weird habit number 2, the INFJ really doesn't care about fitting in. Every single person has a need for belonging. It's part of being a human. We need to feel like part of a group in order to feel like we can survive, right? This is really deeply ingrained in us and every single human being. But when it comes to INFJs, this trait really isn't much developed. Like, it's a trait in itself that we really don't care that much. And because of that, we do things that don't fit the norm. And very often we struggle with this because we feel like, oh, I just have to accept the fact that I'm different. Why don't people accept me the way I am? What is the problem here? And so it becomes this push-pull game of when can I be myself? When shouldn't I? What is considered okay? What is considered weird? When in the end, every single person, not just INFJs, has unique traits that are not completely acceptable by society. Every single one of us. And I'm not talking about doing something that is illegal or immoral. I'm just talking about every single one of us has aspects that are authentically us that will go against the grain. And so we have to come to terms with that this in itself isn't something that makes us weird. The thing that makes it unique for us is that we don't care so much to fit in, so we don't feel like we have to, bottle it up. If you think about it, how often do you see people and you see their authentic self? You as an INFJ are aware of it, and you pretty much talk to that person in a way of, why are you not allowing yourself to be authentic? And they get mad at you because you're being more authentic and they're not allowing themselves to be that. That is because they have a higher need to fit in. That is just part of their, mental makeup. And that's just the way it is. So we have to come to terms with that every single person has some weird traits, but it's us who can live it out and still feel okay about ourselves. And so once you look at it from that perspective, you will stop asking others to be more authentically themselves, to accept you being different and accept them being different, because simply they just can't, but you can. And so it's on you to say, I will allow myself to be myself as much as possible. I will live it out on a daily basis, because that's when you really progress in life. So you stop questioning yourself and you understand, okay, this is something I can do. I can be more of myself. And so I should be that and not look left and right why others can't and what I can do to make them see the value in themselves. The best you can do for others in that aspect is to be an example, because they need to believe in themselves. It's not about somebody else accepting them, it's about them accepting themselves. And if you don't accept yourself and say, oh, but you should accept yourself, they're not listening to what you're saying, they're looking what you're doing. And you in that moment are not really putting any light on who you are. So choose you, be the best you can be the most brightest INFJ version of yourself, and then see how that inspires others to be the best version of themselves. Weird trait number 3, the INFJ can dim their light very easily. So this is very interesting because most of the time we look at this as, as some kind of insecurity. INFJs dim their light and we should stand more in our light and not dim it for anybody and so on. But in many situations, this is a good tactic. And we can do that without really losing ourselves. A lot of people cannot do that. They need to have more attention on themselves. They cannot, make themselves small in order to let others shine, because they will feel worse about them. We really have the ability to dim our light very easily. And once we understand that this is a skill, that this is a trait, and that we can choose when to do this, we can do this deliberately. So it doesn't come out because of some insecurity or because we think, oh, people are not going to like me if I shine the light on me, but we can really do it in a way of, oh, now is my time to really pull back. It's totally fine, but when I want to, I will let myself shine. I'm not going to shy away from that. And having that perspective really changes a lot. So understand that it's just harder for others to dim their light, but that does not mean that you are obligated to do it all the time. Just do it when it's in your best interest, when you feel it's appropriate, and when it just makes sense. And once it makes sense for you to be your biggest, brightest version, please be that. Your soul needs it, and guess what? The world needs it as well. Weird trait number 4, the INFJ is extremely strong-willed despite being so agreeable. We have to be aware that we, when it comes down to it, have a very, very strong mind. We will stick it out. If we believe in something, we will not give it up. If we want to protect somebody, we will protect them to the end. If we have decided that a person isn't worth our time, we will leave and not look back. And this is something that, is very counterintuitive to other people, because most of the time we are very agreeable. We're the person who says, I don't care where we go. We can go to that restaurant that you want to go to. We can do this over here. Like, I'm totally fine being the sidekick. I'm totally fine relaxing and letting life happen. But this is just part of our mental makeup. We are actually both. We can be so agreeable and allowing others to take charge because we know when it comes down to it, we will actually stick to what we really believe in. I mean, think about it. It's actually the opposite for most people. Most people are not able to really let go of their opinion and what they want to do and what they need because they know that once they let that go, they will lose themselves and they will be very malleable to others. Like, I've experienced this with people who have not given me an inch, and I've, learned over time. It's because they have been in situations where, they've gotten close to somebody and then that other person really took advantage of them. So very often there's a combination here. If you're agreeable in most situations, it's because you have the confidence that when it comes down to it, you can take charge. So we have to look at it from that perspective, understand that people will firstly be very shocked that we can do that we are strong-willed. So in general, don't make assumptions, but if you assume something, rather assume that people think you're not strong-willed than that you actually are. Because people see you at face value. And if you're being agreeable all the time, they will believe that you don't have your own agenda, that you actually need them to make decisions for them, and so on. So keep that in mind and know that in certain situations, although you can be agreeable, it's way more important to actually stand up for what you believe in, stand up for your right and your strength, and like to really anchor in your position. Because if you don't do this, people will just believe that you don't have what it takes. And that's when you get into all of those situations like door slams, or you're really surprised how somebody can take advantage of you over and over again. Aren't they aware of everything you've been sacrificing for them? They are not aware. They cannot be aware because all they've seen is what you have been doing, which is, making it comfortable for them. And so they don't know what you're capable of. And the more often you actually make sure that you're good first, the better it is for everybody. Remember, this is first off about setting an example. And second of all, you'll learn that just because you make sure that you're good and that you're making sure that you are kind to yourself, you're not actually being mean to anybody else. Like, this doesn't have to be an either or situation. Weird trait number 5, the INFJ is extremely aware of other people's emotions and not aware of their own emotions at all. And so when we talk about emotions, it's everything from anger, excitement, insecurities, and so on. So yes, we can really look into ourselves and analyze what's been going on. But the truth is that most of the time we either focus on the outside or we focus on the inside. It pretty much cancels each other out. So if you look at all the situations in your life where you've been focused on how another person is feeling, you probably weren't aware of how you felt at that moment. Those are the moments when we allow other people to take advantage of us, where people are unkind to us, because we look at it from the perspective of, oh, that person is suffering so much and I want to help them. And the reason why they're being mean is because they've experienced this, this, and this. And of course, it makes sense from that perspective. But we can do this because we can't hear what's going on within us. So of course, alternatively, if you say, I have to listen to my voice more, I have to put myself in situations where I have to make choices for myself, listen to my inner voice, understand what is not kind to me, you're of course going to be less aware of others' emotions. Like, that is something I wasn't aware of, but it's something that I'm keenly aware of now. Because if I look back at all the times when I used to be more outwardly focused on this, I really didn't know how I was feeling. And at the same time, now I'm really not able to look that much into other people's emotions as I used to. I can, still do a lot of it, but, if I think about it, I went way overboard back in the day. And so just because we're able to do this, this doesn't mean that this is the healthiest of choices. We have to make sure that we put enough energy into our own emotions and there still be enough left to be empathetic towards others. Everything we talked about today will help you to take the steps into creating your INFJ epic life. Remember, if you want some more guidelines how to get that process started, then check out the free poster on the INFJ epic life formula. And if you want to go much deeper into it and really start that transformational journey today, then get the INFJ epic life audio guide. Everything you need to know you can find in the links in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in line with today's topic, then watch the video on the 5 weirdest habits of the INFJ.